Welcome to Top Real Facts. Iceland is the most sparsely populated country in Europe, with only 3.3 inhabitants per square kilometer. Iceland has no army and is one of the most peaceful countries in the world. Iceland is known as the land of fire and ice because of its active volcanoes and glaciers. Iceland is home to the largest glacier in Europe, Vatnajökull, which covers an area of over 8,000 square kilometers. Iceland is one of the few places in the world where you can see the northern lights, also known as the aurora borealis. The Icelandic language is one of the oldest living languages in Europe, and it has remained relatively unchanged for centuries. Iceland has more than 10,000 waterfalls, including the famous Gullfoss and Seljalandsfoss. Icelanders have a unique naming system where surnames are based on the first name of their father, with the suffix son or daughter added. Iceland has the highest literacy rate in the world, with 99.9% of its population being able to read and write. Iceland has the world's oldest parliament, the Alþingi, which was established in 930 AD. Icelanders have a tradition of eating fermented shark, called hakarl, which has a strong ammonia-like smell. Iceland has a strong tradition of storytelling and is home to many legendary sagas. Iceland is one of the few countries in the world with no mosquitoes. Iceland has a geothermal swimming pool in almost every town, which are heated by the country's geothermal energy. Iceland's capital, Reykjavik, is the northernmost capital city in the world. Iceland has a unique Christmas tradition called the Yule Lads, who are 13 mischievous trolls that visit children in the 13 days leading up to Christmas. Iceland is the only country in the world that still hunts whales for commercial purposes. Icelanders consume more Coca-Cola per capita than any other nation. Iceland has a high life expectancy, with an average lifespan of 83 years. Iceland is one of the most gender-equal countries in the world, with women holding almost 50% of parliamentary seats. Iceland's flag is one of the oldest national flags in the world, having been used since 1915. Iceland has a high level of renewable energy, with over 80% of its energy coming from renewable sources. Icelanders have a strong literary tradition, with 1 in every 10 Icelanders publishing a book in their lifetime. Icelanders celebrate a festival called Orabult in the middle of winter, where they eat traditional Icelandic foods such as sheep's head, blood pudding, and fermented shark. Iceland has a low crime rate and is considered one of the safest countries in the world. Iceland's currency is called the Icelandic krona, ISK, and it has a unique symbol, KR. Icelanders have a love of hot springs, and there are over 600 hot springs in the country. Iceland has no McDonald's, Burger King, or Starbucks, but it does have its own fast food chain called Hamburgerafabriken. Iceland has a strong tradition of knitting, and many Icelanders still knit their own sweaters using traditional patterns. Iceland has no forests, and the only trees that grow in the country are small and stunted due to the harsh weather conditions. Iceland's national football team, which famously made it to the quarter-finals of the 2016 European Championships, is coached by a part-time dentist. Icelanders celebrate the summer solstice with a festival called Jónsmessa, where they stay up all night and light bonfires. Iceland has the world's largest puffin population, with an estimated 10 million puffins living in the country. Iceland's capital, Reykjavik, is powered entirely by geothermal energy. Iceland has a unique tradition of building small, wooden churches in remote locations, known as prayer houses. Iceland is home to the world's largest whale watching company, which operates out of the town of Húsavík. Icelanders have a tradition of eating skyr, a thick, yogurt-like dairy product that has been a part of their diet for over 1,000 years. Icelanders have a strong belief in elves and hidden people, and many construction projects have been rerouted to avoid disturbing their supposed habitats. Iceland has a high level of internet penetration, with almost 100% of its population having access to the internet. Iceland has a unique cuisine, with dishes such as hakarl, fermented shark, smoked puffin, and sheep's head commonly found on menus. Iceland has a high level of artistic creativity, with many Icelandic musicians, writers, and filmmakers gaining international recognition. Iceland has a tradition of making and eating traditional Christmas cookies called laufabrauð, which are decorated with intricate patterns. Iceland's highland regions are home to many active volcanic systems, including the infamous Age of Gjallarjökull, which erupted in 2010 and disrupted air traffic across Europe. Iceland has a unique system of public broadcasting, with the national broadcaster, RV, operating as a non-profit organization and receiving funding from the government. Iceland has a high level of renewable energy use, with almost 100% of its electricity coming from renewable sources such as geothermal and hydropower. Iceland has a tradition of celebrating the winter solstice with a festival called Ori, where Icelanders eat traditional Icelandic foods such as pickled ram's testicles and sour rye bread. Iceland has a unique tradition of naming its children after natural features and phenomena, such as rivers, waterfalls, and volcanoes. Iceland's coastline is one of the longest in the world, stretching over 4,970 kilometers. Iceland has a strong literary culture, with many Icelandic authors writing in the form of sagas and drawing inspiration from the country's rugged landscape. Iceland has a unique tradition of reading books and drinking hot cocoa during the Christmas season, known as Jlapkafall, the Christmas book flood. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel.